Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Exceptional Scrum Master Podcast. My name is Yinka and I remain your online agile coach. Now in today's episode, I want to talk about the launch of my latest book. In fact, the launch of my new book. I'm a first-time author and I'm super excited that I have a special gift for you. Now, in case you haven't heard, I would like to introduce to you the Essential Scrum Master Interview Guide. This is a guide that provides you 100 scenario-based interview questions and answers to help you land your next job. Honestly, this guide is given everything. I took so much time trying to figure out what are the 100 most important questions that you're most likely to be asked in an interview. And then I took extra time providing you answers to this 100 questions. So if you are ready to up your game, if you're ready to increase your chances of getting that Scrum Master job, then you want to click on the link in the description of today's video to grab this book. And it's going for just $39.99. So you can imagine all of that knowledge packed for such chicken change. So for today's video, I'd like to share some of the questions in this book and then share a few of the responses or the answers to this question. So now let's get started. Okay, so let me pull the book over to the side so that we can get started. So if you are asked in your interview, explain the roles and responsibilities of a Scrum Master, what would you say? And how would you answer that question? I want you guys to think about it for a few minutes. Now, going to my book, I share an approach in terms of how you should answer this question so that way you're able to increase your chances of getting that job. So one of the things I like you to share, with the interviewer or the panel is this. You want them to understand that the Scrum Master plays a very important role, and we do not only just facilitate agile processes, we enable teams to work effectively, and we foster a culture of continuous development. You want to let your interviewer know that Scrum Masters are not managers, or they're not even tech leads. They're not technical leads. We are servant leaders. We support our team, we support our product owner, and we support the organization at large. We want them to embrace those Scrum principles and values, and we want them to embrace all things agile, improving their agile ways of working, okay? So you want to spend time letting them understand how you play the role of a servant leader. So what is your understanding of servant leadership? And letting them understand that as a Scrum Master, I am a servant leader to my team. You also want them to understand that you are also a facilitator and you're also a coach. Many times in interviews, Scrum Masters always spend so much time, laying emphasis on the fact that they are facilitators, they facilitate Scrum events, and they remove impediments. Now, that is part of your job description, but that's not all that you do. So ensure that you include things like servant leadership. Explain how you facilitate, those Scrum events, because clearly that's what you do. Also explain how you're also a team coach, how you coach your team, how you coach your product owner, how you coach even those that are outside your team. Clearly, you know how to talk about being an impediment remover. Don't forget to also share how you protect your team, because besides you removing impediments, you are also in that position to protect your team, ensure that they're not disrupted, they are focused on the work that they're doing, and you protect them against whether it's the organization that's trying to disrupt them. Sometimes you even protect them against themselves, because sometimes the way that they work may be an anti-pattern that obstructs them from their progress. So you're also a protector where you're protecting the team. You're someone who encourages your team to continuously improve themselves, and you find ways for them to improve and get better in the way they work, in the way they interact with one another, and just in the way that they are building that product. Also, as a Scrum Master, you help your team to ensure that they're working effectively, and you do that by monitoring metrics. So there'll be metrics that yourself and your team would have agreed to use as a way to gauge, our progress, how are we working, and our ways of working. So as a Scrum Master, you also come up with metrics that aligns with the work that your team is doing and helps them to reflect, how they are currently working. Also, as a Scrum Master, you are a collaborative partner. You partner with your team, you partner with your product owner, partner with the organization to ensure that there's alignment, requirements are well clarified, and everybody is focused on the work that you're supposed to be doing. So just don't stop at talking about you being an impediment remover and you facilitating events, right? There are like 7 extra points that you can give. And when you grab a copy of my book, you're able to see like 7 to 8 extra points that you can add on top of being an impediment remover and someone who facilitates Scrum events. Now, let's take a look at another question in the book. Now, another question is, what are some of the ways to handle conflict in a team? This is a major question, or rather, this is a common question that, many times we get asked. How do you resolve conflicts? How do you handle conflicts or disagreements within your Scrum team? Now, my book also provides you a detailed way to answer the question. You want to employ active listening. You want to emphasize the fact that you're actively listening to all the parties involved in this conflict so that you have, a greater understanding and a deeper understanding of what the issue is. It's also important for you to emphasize the fact that you also have private conversations with every individual. Sometimes when you're trying to resolve conflicts, gathering everybody together to resolve conflicts might not be the best approach. So it's important that you take that time to have private conversations with all the individuals involved so that you can get their perspective and put all perspectives together to be able to guide them into the way forward. Also, if needed, you also get to facilitate that team discussion where everyone gets to have the opportunity to talk about what they disagree on and how we can then find that 2% that we can all agree on. And sometimes, even if we disagree, how can we work knowing fully well that we don't agree on a particular subject? Sometimes we might disagree because we see things from different perspectives, but how can we move past that? How can we work regardless of what we disagree on? So having that team discussion also allows you have that opportunity to be able to facilitate this conflict that your team is going through. Also, as a Scrum Master, you want to focus on the problem and not the people, right? The people are not the problem. However, the people create the problem, right? But always ensure that you're paying attention to the problem. What is the problem at hand? What are we trying to solve? Not the fact that, this team member never shows up early. Let's figure out there is an issue where people show up late. What is the reason? What are you creating? What issues are you creating by showing up late to a meeting or not even showing up at all, or not completing your task? Whatever it might be that is creating that conflict, let's address the problem and not focus on the people, because when you focus on the people, then they get to be very defensive and you don't get to the root cause of the problem, right? So this is some of the ways that you can answer that question. So if an interviewer asks you, how do you resolve conflict, that happens in your Scrum team, you can share examples of how you employ active listening to listen to all parties involved, how you engage in private conversations so you're able to get a deeper picture of what's truly going on. And where needed, you have team discussions to facilitate, the conversation and get you guys to, get your team members to the finish line where they can all agree on the way forward. Okay. Also, when you're trying to resolve conflict, you focus on the problem and not the people, because you know that once you pay attention to the problem, then you can easily get through to the root cause of that problem and then resolve that issue. Also, something else that you could say is how you try to seek the common ground, which I spoke about earlier. Finding that 2% truth that we can all agree on and move forward. And also you introduce action steps where all of us, okay, we don't want this problem to happen again. What can we do? What can we agree on as a way to work to prevent that thing from happening again? So this is some of the techniques that you can employ when you're trying to resolve conflict. So in my book, there are about 10 to 11 points that you can always share. And obviously, by the time you go through the book over and over again, you might be able to remember maybe about 4 or 5. And once you're able to give concrete responses to that question, you increase your chances of getting the job. I do not want today's video to be extremely long, because today's video is all about my book, The Essential Scrum Master Guide. And I am super, super excited that I'm able to dish this out to the Agile community. This book has 100 interview questions and answers. Now, these answers are not just, regular answers. These are answers that I would give in a past class situation, right? So these are answers that are crafted for you to help expand your learning. And so that way you are able to understand, the best way to be able to answer a specific question. So I'm super excited, and I hope that you are also excited. I really want you all to get your job, and this is my contribution in your agile journey. So if you're ready, click the link in the description to grab this book right away. Thank you so much for spending another time with me on this quick video. I cannot wait to catch you in my next episode. Bye for now.